Pat, pat, poke, poke, wink, wink, banana. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Machinedrum album, Vapor City. Machinedrum is the longtime pseudonym of electronic music producer Travis Stewart. He has been making music under this name for well over 10 years at this point, and over the years that he's put out music in this project, he has sort of used it as a testing ground for numerous electronic music styles. He's a very versatile producer with a sharp ear for sound. I first talked about his work back in 2011 with the album Rooms, an album on which he brought a real stylistic shift, embracing the worlds of JUKE, FOOTWORK, Future Garage, all in one go. And while there were some standout tracks on this thing that I liked a lot, I did enjoy kind of the vibe and the aesthetic that he was going for on this album. Maybe he embraced the very maximal tendencies of these genres a little bit too much, because there were a number of songs on here that to me came off way too jumbled to even sort of be enjoyable or make sense of. And now on this new LP, Machinedrum is still hanging in that same stylistic realm, but maybe the songs are actually coming together a little more focused. Actually, a lot like that Sepulture album that he dropped that very same year. Sepulture being the collaborative duo of him and Praveen Sharma. However, I can't really say I was that much crazier about Sepulture than I was Machinedrum, because with Sepulture, I felt like those eccentric tendencies that Machinedrum had, those more experimental, those noisier tendencies that Machinedrum had, were kind of just sucked away to the point where the Future Garage, the JUKE that was embraced on this album was just kind of very pastel colored, not that memorable, a little bit of a wallpaper background version of this style of music, I thought. This new LP from Machinedrum, though, Vapor City, seems to be a little bit of a middle ground. However, not quite as jumbled as Rooms, but maybe a little darker, a little grittier, a little bit more personality than Sepulture. And what I also appreciate about this LP is that Machinedrum definitely brought a nice variety among the 10 tracks on this album. There are more serene songs on here, just prettier, atmospheric songs, and then we have some very hard grooving bangers as well, like two of the lead singles off of this LP, Gunshotta, a track that has a really interesting, intricate, and constantly shifting rhythm, some very warm sub bass and some tight vocal edits, and then there's Eyes Don't Lie, which is maybe my favorite track on this entire LP. The groove, even harder, but kind of has a sway to it that to me makes the track feel really unique. The bass is crushing, and the kind of pitch shifted and manipulated and somewhat ghostly vocal sample is incredibly hypnotic. Eyes don't lie, eyes don't lie. There are a few tracks on here that kind of come out of left field, like Vision, which is this somewhat short, very textured, very grainy drone of a track. But maybe what's even more surprising to me is the track You Still Lie, which actually feels like a bit of electronic, psychedelic dream pop, something I would expect more from an artist like Washed Out, actually. The song features all these rippling hand claps and swelling synth chords, as well as these lead vocals that are very somewhat deadpan, not that emotive, but cavernous with reverb. What I think Machinedrum actually fell short of on this is that the track honestly is not that memorable, which in my opinion is sort of the issue with a lot of music that tries to go for this vibe. I was just sort of hoping that Machinedrum would change things up by actually making something that hit a little harder, had a bit more impact and memorability. I feel like he attempts that with this really sharp synth lead, but to me this song sticks out like a sore thumb in the flow of this album, just because it feels so stylistically out there, and because it's just not as much of a highlight as many of the other songs on here are for me. And there are other highlights on here outside of the two lead singles that are a little lower in energy but still have some pretty creative ideas. The song Baby It's You builds with this really slow, burning introduction. It really kind of gets the tension set, and it has kind of a Future Garage groove to it, especially with the vocal edits, but I found some of the sounds surrounding this vocal edit to be kind of glitchy, which I dug a lot. There was the song Infinite Us, the longest track on this album, a song that has these really nice arpeggios sparkling throughout the track, these constantly ascending chords, a very fast beat in these vocal edits that feel like they're treated with auto-tune, a little bit warbling in the background. It's a bit of an odd track. I feel like the fast pace of this song catches my ear, but maybe it's a little long-winded. And then there's Center Your Love, which has some pretty nice female vocal edits, as well as some rich pianos and some guitars too. Overall, it's not a bad mix of tracks from Machinedrum. Maybe not that cohesive of an album, and I will say that maybe track for track for track, it's not as hard-hitting as Rooms, because a lot of the time, and I feel like this is what made Rooms so exciting for some people, is the album feels like a little bit of a barrage. Machinedrum came through with a lot more clarity on this album, and I think it makes it more enjoyable, more listenable, just more approachable. There are a few tracks on here that feel forgettable, but I think I prefer this LP over his last one. I'm feeling a light 7 on this thing. Transition. But if you've given this Machinedrum album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Machinedrum, Vapor City, only the strong subscribe, forever.